So, now that we've built a jerk line, we're going to go one step fancier and make a spreader. Still going to do it on the cheap. You can buy these things if you want to, but you can also make them and save yourself some money. What we're going to make is a 4 or 5 decoy spreader that'll fit on your jerk line and give you more motion in those decoys, but you can make it for under 30 bucks. I got most of the stuff from Home Depot, Walmart, places like that, and it didn't cost me much, and I'm going to show you how to put it together. So let's build one. First thing, let's get to my favorite workbench and tailgate. Now, a few things that we're going to need. As far as tool-wise goes, you're going to need a hacksaw or some way to cut PVC pipe. You're going to need a drill and some bits. For the build, you're going to need a 10-foot run of 1/2-inch PVC pipe. You're going to need 4 1/2-inch caps to cap that PVC pipe off. 1 cross connector. I found some 50 feet of braided camo cord that we can use. Just a couple of bungee cords. We'll only need 1 of those probably. Some barrel swivels with the snaps on them. I got the number 1s, those are the biggest ones I could find, and that's how we're going to attach the decoys to this thing. And then I also found mini locking carabiners. These are little mini carabiners. We're going to try those out. They may help us out as well. Also, going to need a couple of cans of flat spray paint. I got brown and black, but that's probably going to be your biggest expense out of all of it. Spray paint's a little expensive these days. But as a duck hunter, you're going to find a bunch of different uses for that by touching up decoys to kind of toning down some of your blinds. So you'll always have use for that. So we're going to get started. First thing, we're not going to need big long pieces of this, so a 10-foot piece is all you need. I'm just going to generally cut it in half, and then I'm going to cut those halves in half where I end up with 4 pieces about 2.5 feet long. So now that you got your 4 pieces of that, the way this is going to work to spread your decoys is we're going to put these pieces will fit inside this X, this cross piece. And as we put these cross pieces together, we're going to take some of this camo cord and we're going to run it from one end to the other all the way through this, leaving about 1 foot hanging out each side. And then we're going to do the same thing this way as well. So now you've got a cross piece here. We're going to run string through it as well, and we'll anchor or attach a decoy on each side of it. So once you put this in the water, you'll have 4 decoys that'll float together, and you can actually attach this to your jerk line as well, and you can give motion to your decoys. Of course, you don't want it white, that's why we got the paint. So let's get this together. Now once we get this together, we're also going to cap the ends off, and the string will have to come through the cap, so that's why we need our drill. We're going to drill a little hole in the center of each one of these caps. So let's make it easy on ourselves, and we'll get a little bit bigger drill bit than the cord. That way we won't have any trouble pulling that cord through. After you drill the holes in the cap, the next thing you'll want to do is drill a few holes through your pipes here. Those are going to be seep holes to allow the water to get into this and let it sink below the decoys. You don't want this thing floating on top of the water. Even though it's going to be camouflaged, you still want it to ride under the water, and the decoys will suspend it. So we're going to drill those holes in there. Probably 2 to 3 in each one is plenty enough. You don't want to do anything that's going to make this any weaker, but you do want to have it where it can actually have water coming in, seeping in. So now we're going to measure off our cord that's going to be basically about 6.5 feet. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And we're going to start with one side like this. We're going to run that cord through. Let it come out the other end. This may take a little bit of finesse, but you can make it work. Not that big of a deal. Now we got the cord coming out both ends. We're going to put a cap on it. And what we got is we got a little bit of tail hanging out each end, as you can see, and we're going to tie our barrel swivels on the end of that. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side here, and we'll get it worked out. Okay, so now we got our 4 sides. We got a little bit of slack coming out of each one. That's where we'll tie on the barrel swivels, and that's where our duck decoys will sit. These barrel swivels are pretty big, these number 1s, so they got a big hook on them that'll hook to the decoy. And they also have a big eyelet on the other end of the swivel that this paracord will go easily through. So this knot we're going to tie is very simple. We're going to take that string, that paracord, and we're just going to run it through the eyelet where that slides through, and we leave that free sliding, and we just take and do just a standard overhand loop and pull it down really good and tight. Once we do that, that can't go anywhere. We can't lose it. That's good enough. You don't have to be an Eagle Scout to do this. It's just real simple knots. And so that's going to slide and give that a little movement there, a little freedom, but it's not going to come off. So that's what we're looking for right there, just a simple overhand knot. Now, so to be able to pull this on the jerk line, what we're going to do is we're going to take our drill and we're going to drill a hole through the center of that cross member, that cross piece for our arms. We're going to pull a string through there, give it about a foot, and then we're going to tie a simple overhand knot and pull it down next to that hole. That's going to keep that string from coming out on that side. Then with the tail end of that line, we're going to take another one of those swivels, just like we did on the arms of this spreader. We're going to run a swivel through there, let it stay on that string. We're going to put an overhand knot there to keep that swivel from coming off the end, and that's where our center decoy is going to be attached. Then we're going to take on the other side, we're going to take that line and we're going to make a loop, and then in that loop we're going to make a basic overhand knot with that loop to where we have a nice little loop on that side. That's going to be to keep this from coming out, and it's also going to be where we hook up our jerk line. The way we're going to hook the jerk line up is we're going to take that loop just like we did to make our handle for our jerk line. We're going to take that, double it over on ourselves, make those 2 loops and pull them together. Then we're going to take one of those little carabiner snap links and we're going to run it through those 2 loops. Let it pull down and lock on there. Now there's our pulling mechanism. Now we take on our jerk line, we do the same thing. We just take a loop in the string. We take that, make a little overhand knot with that loop, and then we can take and hook that snap link in on that loop. There's where our pull comes from on the jerk line. And so that will pull our spreader back and forth, like so. Now, we also may need a little super glue or a little pipe cement, because we'll end up gluing these caps on just to give it a little bit more rigidity. Now, the reason why we're only going to glue the caps, we'll leave this free, because when we get finished with it, we'll be able to take this thing apart, and these pieces will hang here, and now you can pack it inside your decoy bag, down the side of your decoy bag or something like that, and carry it, you know, more compact. And then when you get to the place that you're going to hunt, you set up your jerk line and all you've got to do is reassemble it. Kind of fun figuring this stuff out and building it for yourself. Store-bought stuff is great, but a lot of times you can save a lot of money just doing it yourself. And if you're just getting started, this basic stuff, basic builds, you can start off simple and basic and still be successful on your hunts. Really simple, really cheap, and we've just added a lot of motion, which will help with our success. Let's go try it out.